Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you all are doing well. So, this video is going to be the very first video of Active Directory Attack and Defense series. I'm super excited today for this series, and honestly saying, I wanted to record it from a long time. So, before starting setting up any environment, before configuring labs and all, this is important. You need to spend some time thinking why this skill is important. So I just created few phases, and in these phases I'm going to explain, or I will try to briefly describe why this skill is important, why you should have this skill as a penetration tester in your arsenal. Okay, so the first phase is the evolution, the next step in your career. Fine. So when you first step into the world of cybersecurity, it is an incredible feeling. You learn how to exploit your first web application, you grab your first reverse shell, and you start participating in CTFs, capture the flags. It is exciting and it is the perfect foundation. But as you grow in this field, you eventually have to ask yourself, what does it look like to secure or assess a massive real world environment? Why? Because when you walk into a major corporation or a financial institution, you are not just looking at isolated laptops or standalone web servers. You are looking at a massive interconnected web of thousands of users, computers, and policies, etc. So, and everything is connected. So, an organization infrastructure is basically a system, and that system contains a lot of thousands of hundreds of millions of components, and all those components are interconnected. So when you engage these kind of environments, how you will handle that? And that's why Active Directory penetration testing, or having knowledge about Active Directory, is most important, because it is the heart beating at the center of that entire enterprise. Okay, which is Active Directory. So if you want to take your career to the absolute next level, mastering Active Directory penetration testing is not just an option, it is the ultimate milestone. Okay, so let's go to the next step. So the second phase is the core, the heart of the enterprise. As I mentioned earlier, it is the beating heart of any organization, and it is basically having control of each and everything in the environment. So to understand why this is such a highly valued skill, we have to look at what Active Directory actually does. So think of Active Directory as the central nervous system of an organization, what you see here. Okay, because it holds the key of the kingdom. Why? Because it controls exactly who has access to what, from the newest intern to the CEO. It controls everything. Okay, it manages the permissions of every shared folder, every database, and every workstation on the network. Now, because it holds so much power, it is the primary target during any major real world security event. So when a professional red teamer or a threat actor breaches a network, their ultimate goal is almost always the same, which is mapping the Active Directory environment, finding the hidden pathways or vulnerabilities, and navigate all the way to the domain controller. Okay, so domain controller is the server who controls everything in the environment. Okay, so when you understand how to navigate and protect the central nervous system, which is Active Directory domain controller, uh, your value as a cybersecurity professional skyrocket. Okay, so this is the primary target of any threat actor, because it controls, or it holds the key of the kingdom, and it controls everything in the environment. So the next phase, which is phase 3, which is the value. Okay, so there are many amazing paths in cybersecurity, like bug bounty hunting, web application penetration testing, reverse engineering, malware analysis, etc., etc. And they all are incredibly important. But Active Directory testing gives you something which is very unique. It teaches you how to see the bigger picture. So this is the value of understanding Active Directory. So you stop looking at the security purely on a machine by machine basis and start thinking like an enterprise architect. So you learn how to spot the invisible misconfigurations, vulnerabilities that happen when complex systems overlap. Okay. You learn how authentication protocols actually work under the hood, and how to trace complex permission chains across the entire environment or entire network. And most importantly, you will learn how to help organizations identify and secure those pathways before they are ever exploited. So, having this skill on your resume shows employers that you understand enterprise infrastructure, and it shows them you are ready to handle the bigger environment. So, no one going to give you responsibility until they are sure that you can handle or you can fulfill the responsibility and requirements. Okay, so that's the phase number 3. We are going to see the last phase, which is phase number 4, the execution phase, hands-on practical mastery. Now, mastering Active Directory requires a very specific approach and mindset. Okay, it's the game of mindset. You can read all the documentation in the Word, but to truly understand these concepts, you need to get your hands dirty in a realistic environment. And no one is going to offer their production environment to get your hand dirty. You have to set up your own environment. You need to see how attack works step by step. You need to know how to set up an environment, how to execute the attack safely. This is most important. Okay, so safely executing any attack is the most important, and this is the most important point which organizations or which clients will see. Fine. And how to verify that your technique work every single time. This is also important, because in the home lab you do something, you execute something, but once you go to other development lab or the other development environment, or in CTF, or in real penetration testing engagement, at that time the execution or the technique doesn't work. So these things are most important part of penetration testing. So that hands-on repetition is where true mastery happens, and you have to experience, for example, what a desync attack looks like on the wire, or how manipulating an access control list actively shifts privileges in real time. So that practical, reliable execution is what turns theoretical knowledge into highly sought after professional capability. Fine, so that's it for this video, and this is exactly why I am launching this new Active Directory Attack and Defense series, because I wanted to build a space where we go beyond the surface and deep dive into practical real-world enterprise infrastructure. And we are going to walk through the entire Active Directory roadmap together. In the next video, I'm going to define the roadmap of Active Directory penetration testing. I will show you exactly how these environments are built, how they are tested, and how they are secured using stable, repeatable lab setups that you can rely on. So if you are ready to elevate your skills and learn the mechanics of enterprise security, I invite you to join our community. So I already provided the link of our Discord server in the description section. Whether you are joining as a cyber champion or aiming to become a purple team architect, there is a place for you here. Okay, so let's master the enterprise battlefield together. See you in the next video. Bye.